Welcome to the February 3rd, 2017 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web-exclusive production here on Channel 12. Let's get a quick take on Muslim faith leaders warning federal authorities about the potential radicalization of Joseph Cummings prior to the shooting of an RTD guard at Union Station on Tuesday. In a letter to the Department of Homeland Security from last December, the undisclosed author described Cummings' erratic behavior and radical interpretation of the religion after he'd attended a lunch for Islam converts. Patty Cahoon from Westward. While this was a tragedy right here on our doorstep, I think people are grateful that it could have been a lot worse, but it was still really weird. And this wasn't, I think as you said in the main show, somebody from one of the 7 countries that shall not be named. This was one of our homegrown people. But we also saw this action by Islam leaders. That seemed to be another different angle of the story. What do you think?
Well, because people are labeling it, is he a terrorist? Was he inspired by Islamic writings? Was he wearing, I mean, the rumors are going wild, but the fact is, this guy was American through and through. He did not come from one of the 7 countries that are now on the banned list. He is just pure crazy, homegrown crazy here. And the fact that he was crazy enough when he went to this mosque to inspire the lawyer, who's since been identified and has gone public with this, to say this guy is someone to watch out for. So we've got several investigations that should go on. What did motivate this guy? Is there some kind of crazy, how can we keep an eye on these crazy homegrown people like Robert Deere at Planned Parenthood? It goes all the way back to Columbine. Our terrorists are all our own. They are not from another country in Colorado. You want to keep an eye on everyone else too, but clearly Homeland Security didn't in this case.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. I guess the difference to hear that caught me was that the story grew to the faith leaders from the mosque that said, hey, you know, we sent a letter. That seemed to be more of a proactive stance, and I'm not saying that it's that has to be that way or it shouldn't be that way, but it seems the human nature side of the era we're in right now, that if people are going to call Trump's travel ban a Muslim ban, if folks are talking more about the Islamic faith, that this might be where Islam faith leaders need to go. Do you think we'll probably see more proactivity from other Islam faith leaders? Well,
I hope we see more proactivity by all good patriotic Americans of whatever their religion, including the guy in Texas who, you know, if you see something, say something. This guy was an obvious threat, and he informed law enforcement, and it doesn't appear we got much law enforcement follow through, although we, at least so far in what we know. Part of the issue is law enforcement in this country, including the national level, does way too much and is involved in too many things, and ought to leave people alone more on some things and concentrate more resources on terrorist threats like this guy. But you know, you can't have everybody under surveillance all the time, at least not active surveillance. So you got to focus. You got to focus, and there's a lack of focus on terrorism, which should get a much greater focus and greater share of federal law enforcement and FBI resources.
Penfield Tate, attorney with QTAC Rock, also a longtime state lawmaker. What did you make of the different developments and angles from the situation?
You know, I just thought it was interesting because in the wake of the president's Muslim ban order, here you have Muslims in the United States legally and lawfully who see a problem, and they sort of invoked the community policing model we want in this country. They told law enforcement, they told Homeland Security, we've seen this guy, we've tried to talk him down, but someone needs to get a handle on this situation because we think he's spiraling to a bad end. And so they did their civic duty and responsibility, which illustrates the problem with stereotyping and generalizing around the world by thinking that all Muslims are evil or they're terrorists. I mean, Timothy McVeigh wasn't a radical Islamist. He did quite a bit of damage in Oklahoma City, though, in his day, and the other examples that Patty gave you. So this ought to be a wake-up call to all of us in this country. When you see something, say something, but also assume that people who don't look like you are necessarily opposed to you.
Gregory Moore, former editor of the Denver Post, also a current professor at CU's Communication School. I think Penn brings up a good point. It's I think if this gentleman had a different look to him, that people might be thinking it differently. I think maybe some folks, fair or not fair, might think of this is what a Muslim looks like, but the fact of the matter is, no Muslim looks like anything. It's just like any other group of people. When you saw the different parts of the story come out, what were some of the things that you took away?
Well, one of the things I took away is just how difficult it is for law enforcement to really assess threats. I mean, this is not the first time that someone has been brought to the attention of, Homeland Security, local police, FBI. It's hard to figure out exactly what the level of threat is. And we still don't know exactly what they did once they were notified that this guy was crazy. But increasingly, we're seeing people who end up doing heinous things have been brought to the attention of law enforcement, that they had been vetted a little bit, and they had been allowed to continue walking around until they committed the ultimate atrocity. So I think law enforcement is probably more overwhelmed than we know. And I think it's important for us to find out in this particular case, what did you do with the information that was given? And that still is yet to be determined.
That is all the time we have for Colorado Inside Out postgame this week. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.